The biggest game I played across the summer holiday was one I actually alluded to at the end of our Switch 2 episode, and it is the genuinely sublime Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Ah, yeah.
Now, I've said probably 100 times on this very show that I'm not really an RPG guy, but it wasn't until playing Clair Obscur that I was able to really start to understand why. And I think for me, an RPG needs to engage on like a narrative level. It's got to do something on a gameplay level, like usually the battles or something that pulls me in as well. And it's got to do something on an aesthetic level as well. And there's so many RPGs that I feel either interested in or sometimes quite enjoy the bits I've played that might hit one or two of these pillars, but just fall down somewhere else. So I might love the story, the art and the music of, say, Ni no Kuni, but I've never been completely taken with the battle system. It's like, I like the world. I like everything else, but the actual fighting, I'm kind of like, get through this so I can watch another little cutscene. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
I love the music and battle system of Chrono Trigger that Minty made me play a long, long time ago. But I've always found the story a bit of a shrug, at least in the first few hours when I've tried to play it. Like I've started Chrono Trigger 5 or 6 times, as sacrilegious as that probably seems to some people. But every time I get to about the same point and I go, just can't be bothered. Can't be bothered. Another one, I love the visuals, the music, and the combat. Should be a full house almost of I Am Setsuna, but the pacing is so slow. It's really hard to get going with as well. It's another one that I've restarted 3 or 4 times. I go, all the music's piano. It's really like softly nice in the background. It's always snowing. Everything's got like a really sort of painterly aesthetic. But then I'm like, when does something happen? We've set this up in the intro and now I'm just wandering about a town and nothing is pushing this forwards.
Yeah.
So again, something stops me playing it. Games that I have really enjoyed. The first Dragon Quest, as simple as that is, hits all the columns. Panzer Dragoon Saga obviously hits all the columns for me. Final Fantasy VII, even though I've not finished it, hit all the columns when I was playing through that, especially with the 7th Heaven PC tweaks I was using when I played it on the Steam Deck. But Clair Obscur, I think, might just be the modern RPG that starts to make me properly consider the genre as something I might like to engage with more, because it's a proper example of something where the art and music is world class. The story had me fully bought in like 15 minutes into starting the game, and every battle is worthy of your full focus and attention, and every encounter carries proper weight, whether you're fighting like sort of jobber enemies on the world map or a big named boss. It's just fun to fight, and that's quite an achievement, I think, as like a very simple setup if people haven't heard of this one or not really kind of read into it. The game is set in a fictional place called Lumiere. It's a very beautiful, very French city inspired by the Belle Epoque art movement. And once a year in this city, there's a mystical entity called the Paintress who appears out at sea on a kind of a distant monolith and writes a number on this monolith that foretells that everyone of an age equal to that number will die the next day in a phenomenon known as the gommage, which is French for erase, I've learned. So you begin the game as a character called Gustave. He's a young man who will be taking part in Expedition 33, annual mission that sees volunteer soldiers attempting to take down the Paintress and, to try and prevent the gommage of the following year. And even that is quite stirring, isn't it? Population is about to be wiped out. It's kind of your last ditch. We do it once yearly. We hope we make more progress. But chuck in the fact that the game opens with you desperate to meet and reconcile with an ex-partner who is soon to be vaporized before you set sail for the Paintress Isle. I was all in, like full steam ahead from the get-go. I chose to play the game with French voiceovers. I would heartily encourage everyone who picks this up to do the same, because the English voice work is excellent.
Charlie Cox.
I know, but this really is a case when the aesthetics of the language feel really vital to the vibe and feel of the world. And there are so many like francophone kind of jokes and references in enemy names or attack titles that it just felt right to kind of say, okay, well, let's just do it in French then. I know the tiniest bit of GCSE level French. Definitely would not classify as GCSE level anymore. We're talking more like introductory year 7 lessons is what I actually recall. But all the aesthetic choices in Clair Obscur are so considered. It felt like I would be doing a disservice not to give the French cast a shout. And it's great. I don't think there's a weak link in the game, but it's the battle system that I think is the absolute jewel, for me at least. The headline feature is that every single attack from every single enemy can be parried, blocked, or avoided. Just every single one. And it involves a level of trial and error when you first come across a new kind of enemy type or you're fighting a boss for the first time. But the level of kind of timing and rhythm that you eventually pick up and understand, it's not going to appeal to everyone. But the first time I beat an enemy damageless, like sidestepping to parry every single attack because I was like properly locked in and I'd learnt the patterns, it just felt so good. Like I've been dreadful at games like the Souls games, things like that. Anytime I've played them, even though I know in theory it's the same. Look for the visual tells, do the things at the right time. I get that it's the same thing, but there's something about the pacing of it still being a turn-based battle that you've got like just a slight pause in between each phase.
Yeah,
that
you don't need to worry
easier.
about moving yourself at the same time. Is the thing.
So it's been much easier to say, right, even though as soon as it's the enemy's turn, I have to be ready. It's a case of I say when it's the enemy's turn, and I think that works really well for me. Whereas in something like Elden Ring, when I was playing that, I would think I was psyched up. I would go in and then I'd make the same mistake 15 times in a row, even though I knew it was like when he raises his arm, that's when we roll. And I just didn't ever do it. Whereas in this, I'm probably 20-ish hours into the game and I'm still enjoying every single encounter.
Wow.
Like I had a proper... Yeah, I think I really love this thing when I found an optional side boss in a hidden away area of the world map that took, not hyperbolizing, 15 solid minutes of perfect parrying to beat. But then when I did, it rewarded me with about 10 levels of experience and a few like game-changing abilities that then changed the way I'd approach combat from then on.
Yeah.
Like it was such a big shift that it was just worthwhile doing and learning, and the 4 or 5 times it took to practice before I finally got it, I was like, that wasn't wasted time. It was worth it. It felt worth it. Management of your party and personal progression is also really good in this. The way magic and abilities work is really great. It's like, it's almost too much to try and explain, especially for someone like me who is not an RPG person. But if you have a skill assigned to a character, once they've used it to a certain extent, it becomes a passive skill that can be applied to other characters as well. And then a lot of what you're doing is kind of ending, like building a plan and approach to every fight with your skills as well as your kind of combat abilities and your parrying, dodging, stuff like that. So you might go in thinking, right, we're gonna level up speed on this character, so they always go first, because that means they can cast a specific sort of debuff on a specific enemy. That's then going to set up my next party member to use a different ability. That ability is going to stack damage every time I dodge or parry. That's then going to buy the final character a free shot on another enemy's weak point. And it's kind of just making a plan for even the smallest enemies and it feeling really, really good when it pays off. There's like a level of almost strategy RPG planning to it, but on a much smaller scale. And yeah, my brain isn't supposed to care about this stuff. And yet I'm so taken by the whole experience, I found it impossible not to care. So I've got really involved in kind of like how am I teching and speccing my party? How can I make sure this works?
Min-maxing.
Well, there we go. You can play this game on a range of difficulty settings, but I would highly recommend for anyone who is interested in picking it up, just stick to at least the default setting. Like if you think you're great at this sort of game, whack it right up. But there's kind of a story mode where you don't then have to really worry about kind of parrying and avoiding attacks that often. But I think that would take away a big part of what's so successful in this game, to kind of like just have that sort of smoothed over too much. So I would really suggest people force themselves to kind of try and engage with the combat properly, at least to a point. And then if after an hour or two you think, no, this just isn't for me, you've still got the story mode as well. But I think it is worth doing because the narrative is really good. Performances are great. World's stunning. Music's top tier. But it is the combat that's like the gel that holds it all together and keeps you moving from A to B. I've not finished the game. It's another casualty of going back to work, which I will also detail a bit more later in kind of another section. But my goodness, would I like to? I Googled this so I could try and be really cool. I was going to say two massive pouces vers le haut, which is 2 thumbs up in French.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
which
it's
is actually a racist slur.
It might be.
In some cultures.
It might be.
Yeah.
What else have you played?
I've played a bit of Clair Obscur, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, exactly what you said. It is stunning, utterly stunning. I was playing it in English because I'm not a dick. I'm kidding. I am playing it in English, but just because I'm lazy and easily distracted, and I find it very difficult to read subtitles and retain the information at the same time.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, the battle system sort of caught me off guard because I didn't realise it was going to be as active as it was. When I was playing it, I wasn't really in the right frame of mind to sort of get my head around it. So I was like, okay, I will be in the mood for that at some point because that's incredible. I just need to find that, and it might be soon.
Might be
soon.